The Minister of Labour and Productivity, Chris Ngige, has described the 14-day ultimatum issued by the Nigeria Labour Congress over the new minimum wage as blackmail and an attempt to intimidate the government. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, Senator Ngige said organised labour cannot apply force and threats during negotiations, as it contravenes both international and Nigeria labour laws. The minister urged the labour unions to be patient as he plans to meet with President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday to brief him on the matter.
Convention 26 and the most current Convention 131 does not make for tripartite partners to issue threats or try to blackmail any of the partners when negotiations are taking place. If you do that, you're running foul of the convention. Even in collective bargaining agreement, you don't apply threats, you don't apply force or blackmail, because you will have pushed a partner to start negotiating under duress. The various conventions frown at it. Even Nigeria level laws frown at it. So I have regarded the ultimatum as a subtle blackmail and an attempt to intimidate, which is not allowed by the various conventions of the International Labour Organization and Nigerian labour laws. The organized labour should wait. We are doing our consultations. We give them a time frame within which we think these consultations will yield fruits. But no attempt should be made to blackmail or intimidate any of the partners.
Earlier this year, a report by the World Poverty Clock showed Nigeria had overtaken India as a country with the most extremely poor people in the world after the Democratic Republic of Congo. The federal government had begun implementing measures to reduce the poverty and unemployment rate in the country by organizing various empowerment and skills acquisition programs. On our big story tonight, we take a look at the unemployment situation in the country as well as the impact of its empowerment programs.
From dawn till dusk, Nigerians, young and old, leave their homes, resuming the search for jobs, menial or white collar. But poverty still remains a critical problem. The numbers have shown that poverty stands at 33.1%, while the unemployment rate stands at 18.8%. A staggering ratio for Africa's largest economy.
Now they see food they chop well. The day when I go see 200 naira, I go cook okra soup for inside pot. Me and my children go manage. This one market when you see, so now money I borrow, they go carry the market.
Since the early 90s and up until 2016, when the country slipped into a recession, the unemployment rate in the country has continued to climb. Many graduates leave school hoping they wouldn't be swept away by the tide of joblessness.
I'm optimistic about finding a job, so I'm not scared. And as I said, there are many opportunities. I could go for my master's and I sew actually, so I could start up a fashion business.
Precisely a year after my service, that was when I got the first job ever.
It is evident that as the Nigerian population continues to grow, the public service cannot absorb all of the nation's working class. Many have turned to entrepreneurship, starting micro, small and medium enterprises. Some have even gone on to become employers of labor.
For a while now, several entrepreneurship and skill acquisition programs have been set up by the federal and state government to try to bridge the unemployment gap.
I'm a man who do bike business, that is a commercial bike rider. But with the help of this program, I can say now that I've learned how to prepare mobile phones.
This training made me to diversify, and even apart from menswear, it made me to go into different attire, not just our normal Akara. I'm so happy.
With financial assistance from global bodies such as the World Bank and the United Nations, signing up for these youth empowerment programs may seem to be the right step. But what happens after the press reviews and reports, when the cameras are turned off and the government bids farewell to the young business owners? When these Bakassi refugees returned to Cross River State, an empowerment program was set up to equip them with the necessary skills and machinery to help begin life anew.
Because we believe that you cannot continue to give people food to eat. It's not just sustainable, but you teach them how to get that food themselves, and that's why we are empowering them in different kinds of skills for them to earn their livelihood.
But the residents say theirs is a forgotten cause.
Let us give us an empowerment that it will be able to solve the situation, not to give us rice and beans. We cry about it. They provide the creeper without power generator. They provide the sewing machine without money for us to rent a shop and put it. Just look at here, it is under the camp. They provide the grinding machine. There is no money for us to go and hustling for our life.
In the end, do more skill and empowerment programs provide the answer to Nigeria's unemployment rate? Perhaps adequate measures should also be taken to monitor the beneficiaries of these empowerment schemes and ensure that they do not return to ground zero. For The Big Story, Tosin Additional, Channels Television News.
The chairman of the West African Monetary Zone, Mr. Bakary Jammeh, is worried over the rising debt profile in Africa. Mr. Jammeh, who was speaking at a meeting in Abuja, explained that the amount used to service the debt has become a drain on the resources that could have been channeled into the development of Africa's economy. But he is hopeful that with the close synergy among member states, it can achieve its desire for a single currency by 2020, improve infrastructure, and improve the livelihood of its people.
Representatives of the West African Monetary Zone, comprising governors of central banks of the region and their deputies, at a meeting in Abuja to discuss how to attain macroeconomic stability in the region through collaboration.
I would like to use this opportunity to thank the government.
First to speak is the chairman of the forum. He says the continent has suffered both external and internal shocks, as well as high rate of debt level, which has impacted negatively on its people.
It is clear that macroeconomic management in the WAM's member countries has improved in the past decade. However, challenges remain, including rising debt vulnerabilities within our economies, and now there is trade protectionism that also poses trade risks internationally.
Discussions at the meeting also centered on how to attain a single currency for West Africa. The objective of the single currency will help facilitate trade and create jobs.
I call on all of us to continue to work towards reversing the structural and institutional deficiencies that have continued to stalemate this unification process. By working hand in hand with our various fiscal authorities in narrowing budget deficits, suboptimal fiscal performance, and encouraging investment in infrastructure, among others.
Before the adoption of the single currency, some criteria such as the attainment of single-digit inflation rate of 5% or less, as well as fiscal deficit of not more than 4% of gross domestic product. While some countries are close to meeting some of the basic criteria for the vision, some have not.
The assessment of member states' performance on the primary convergence criteria showed that none of the countries met all the 4 criteria. However, the average performance of the zone improved during the year under review.
The idea of having a single legal tender for West Africa was mooted about 2 decades ago, with many saying it has been long overdue. With rising debt level and infrastructural deficit, many will be watching to see if resolution reached here will improve the lives of people in the West African sub-region.
Let's take a look at business news now. Here's Kayode Okikiolu.
Thank you, Ijeoma. You're welcome to Business News. The Intercontinental Exchange will launch its first set of derivatives, which is based on Nigerian crude as an alternative to dominant global benchmark Brent crude index. According to a note on the IC website, traders will be able to use the IC platform from September the 17th to trade a derivatives contract linked to Nigeria's 4 largest crude oil grades, which are Bonny Light, Forcados, Kwa Ibo and Bonga. The contract will be based on the differential of the 4 crudes to the dated Brent benchmark and is expected to make Nigerian crude become a standardized commodity. The Intercontinental Exchange is an American company which owns exchanges for financial and commodity markets and operates 23 regulated exchanges and marketplaces. Let's head over to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where it's the 7th straight drop for the NS's main index as negative sentiments continue to drive sell-offs across major counters of the market. Chimezie Obiwagu has all the details.
Thank you, Kayode, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. A negative sentiment towards the equities moderated a bit today as the all-share index came down by 0.84%. That's far better than the sell-off experienced on Wednesday. However, when you look at the sectoral indices, you will see that they are all down except the banking sector, which managed to gain marginally, and that's because of the gains recorded by GT Bank and UBA. Now, the industrial sector, just like yesterday, was a major factor that dragged the market into the red. This time, Dangote Cement is not to be blamed as such. Rather, the blame goes to Lafarge Wapco, which lost by 10%. And Nestle pulled the consumer goods back into the red. In all, a total of 173.5 million shares were exchanged, valued at 3.7 billion naira in 3,082 deals. And stocks from the banking sector were the major contributors to that volume and value. Now, the trading week ends tomorrow. Traders are only hoping for a better deal. And that was the Stock Market Report. I'm Chimezie Obiwagu. Back to you, Kayode.
Thank you, Chimezie. Most of the world's leading stock markets ended Thursday's trading session with modest recovery. But it's a different picture for European markets as the European Central Bank and the Bank of England leave interest rates unchanged. Well, that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Okikiolu.